Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Director, I appreciate your service in a previous life, and I got to confess to you, I was surprised when you used the phrase political bannering in your opening. I was not only surprised, I was disappointed because you seemed to direct that towards the Republicans. It was the Solicitor General of this administration not 2 weeks ago before the Supreme Court who talked about the damage wreaked by the separation of families. Of course, he wasn't talking about Sarah Root's family, and he wasn't talking about Joshua Wilkerson's family, and he wasn't talking about Casey Chadwick's family or Kate Steinley's family. He was talking about the families of people who are not here legally, and that just struck me as a political comment that he made. And of course, it's not us on our side that advocate for sanctuary cities, which is quintessentially a political analysis that we're going to allow state and local officials to decline to follow federal process, but at the same time, we don't trust state and local cops enough to actually enforce immigration laws. That is a political calculus. That is not one done by folks on our side of the aisle. My friend from Maryland, Mr. Cummings, went to great lengths to quote from episodically from a single Republican. I've never heard him quote Secretary Castro, who has come before committees of this Congress and advocated for citizenship for all 12 million aspiring Americans. Like all 12 million can pass a background check. All 12 million, not a single one of them can't pass a background check. So if we're going to talk about political pandering, and if we're going to use your phrase, and you're the one who used it, I think we ought to at least acknowledge there's plenty of political pandering going on your side as well.
Let me make myself very clear. Very clear. I was not referring to one party or the other. I asked for everyone to drop the political banter and fighting and help me get a system that works.
All right.
I want the record to be clear on that.
The record's clear. Let's let the record be clear about one other thing, because I am vexed as to why Mr. Mejia was not detained. Can you tell me, as a former prosecutor, why the killer of Sarah Root was not detained?
An individual from ICE looked at the specific facts and circumstances related to that matter. This individual had no criminal convictions, previous criminal convictions, and made a determination based on his judgment that he did not need to be detained. And surely, you and I disagree with that?
No. It's more than that you and I disagree with that. That individual was in fact wrong because Mejia has failed to appear for court, has he not? Has he absconded?
It's very easy to look back, sir. Very easy to look back, and yes, he has
Well,
absconded.
I'm looking back so we can look forward and prevent the next one. And that's about all we can do unless we have a crystal ball, is look back and see what facts we were given. And Mr. Mejia, the only two things you look at in a bond analysis are danger to the community and flight risk. Those are the only two things you look at. So help me understand why someone driving 3 times the legal rate of impairment who is not here legally, did he have any criminal history at all, any arrest at all?
We did not find criminal history. I think I've been advised by Senator Ernst that he had some traffic violations previously. But criminal convictions, our records didn't indicate that he had.
Has he failed to appear subsequently for court appearances?
Subsequent to what?
Subsequent to his killing of Sarah Root.
Oh, no, he did not appear for his
right, so
court hearing.
He's failed to appear. That was my question.
Absolutely.
So the discretion exercised was wrong.
These are tough decisions, sir.
This one actually is not that tough to me, Director, with all due respect. It's not that tough.
Okay. Federal judges...
Would you have granted a $5,000 bond for that defendant?
I don't think the bond was set at $5,000.
No, it was $50,000, which means he had to post $5,000.
Yes.
Would you have set that bond?
I would not. If I were a judge of that state court, and I believe that was a judge of the state court system who made that decision. Another factor that the officer from ICE might have looked at in making his decision. I will tell you, judges, make tough decisions every day, and we can point to judges. I was on the receiving end of many of these as a prosecutor, asking for bond, asking for detention, and a federal judge said no, and later that person absconded. Unfortunately, it irks me every time, of course. Unfortunately, it happens a lot.
Well, it does happen, and sometimes there are tragic consequences. I'm out of time, so I will close up with this. I believe in a previous life, I'm sure you work with state and local law enforcement in addition to federal law enforcement.
Absolutely.
And it's always struck me as unusual that we trust state and local law enforcement with the enforcement of every category of crime. I'm sure you had them on some task forces, whether it be narcotics, whether it be human trafficking. We trust them in child pornography cases. We trust them in all categories of cases, including traffic enforcement. So why don't we trust them in immigration cases?
Well, we do actually. We have a 287G program that we enlist the help of local law enforcement in helping us with immigration enforcement. There are a number of jurisdictions, and I've asked our people to expand that program.
You've asked them to expand it because it seems like it's shrinking.
No, sir, it's not shrinking, other than maybe a jurisdiction withdrawing. That I can't control. We beg them to stay, but sometimes they withdraw based on whatever consideration.
So you do trust state and local law enforcement to enforce immigration laws, and you do not buy into the Democrat mantra that somehow racial profiling prevents them from being able to enforce that category of crime, but not any other category of crime?
Well, that's a fully loaded question, which I'd like to break down, because there is racial profiling, sir. I'm not saying that it happens every day, but there is. And so for me to agree with your general proposition would require me to agree with parts of it that I don't agree with.
Well, I'd like to have this conversation more because there would be racial profiling in narcotics cases, there's racial profiling in traffic stop cases, and that doesn't stop feds and state and locals from partnering. So I'm just trying to understand why immigration cases are different.
And I think I said they're not different. We have a
You may have said it, but my Democrat colleagues have not. You may have.
Gentleman's time's expired. The chair now recognizes Delegate Norton for 5